Welcome back to the Credible Dev YouTube channel. Today we're going to be continuing our series on our Windows server setup. And in our last video, I said that we'd be doing some more with group policy and some of the stuff that you can do in there. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Before I get into that, just want to quickly thank all the new subscribers. I really appreciate it. If you like this content and want to see more of it, be sure to leave a comment, hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. So today, what you see here on my screen is our DC01, our first domain controller that we created. We're going to be going into group policy and creating a few sample policies just to show you some examples. There's way more that you can do with this. I suggest that you do some research on your own. There's a lot of information out there on the internet about how to use group policy. It is very common for you to find group policy in a corporate environment. So if you're looking to get into the tech world, maybe you're working on the help desk or you're trying to get off of the help desk, learning Active Directory and the power of it is very important. And a lot of those skills transition over to Azure Active Directory, now Entra ID. A lot of the same things will flow over to it, but not perfectly aligned just yet. As far as the GPOs go, but still valuable information that you can take to Intune as well. So let's go ahead and jump into it by creating some of our first policies. So if you get logged into one of your domain controllers, if you've been following along with the series, we created 2 domain controllers. It doesn't matter which one that you sign into, but just sign into one of those and then get up to your server manager. There's other ways to get to this, but this is by far the easiest. So server manager, you can go up to tools at the top right, and you go to Group Policy Management. You also find this in the Start menu. I believe it's under Administrative Tools and Group Policy Management right here. You can launch it from there as well. So once you pull that up, you're going to want to expand this out. Yours may be closed up like this, so you want to expand this out to the domains. And then previously we created this Corp OU. And in there we have computers, admin, and production. We also have users. Now, we do have a device. If you were following along with the previous videos, we have a Windows 10 device in this production OU. And you can see it through users and computers, which you can get to from tools, and then you'll go to Active Directory, users, and computers. And here you can see in this production OU, we have one Windows 10 desktop, which is this one here. And if you're curious about what I'm using to remote into this machine, today I'm on Windows and not on Linux, so I'm not using Ramina like I normally would. What I'm using here is the Remote Desktop Manager from Devolutions. I'll leave a link down in the description below if you're interested. It's a pretty powerful tool. You can do a lot more than just remote desktop with it. I'll show you quickly here. Bring this up to the screen. And you can see you have a lot of different options in here, from SSH, FTP, SFTP, SCP. There's a lot of different options in here. And if you have some old networking equipment that still uses a serial port for a console connection instead of using PuTTY or some other tool like that you may have used in the past, you can use this to do it as well. So anyways, enough about that. I don't want to get too off in the weeds here. So this is our Windows 10 desktop, and we'll be doing a few things to it using group policy. So what we need to get started is to get back to group policy management here. And the first thing we're going to do is install some software via group policy. And how we'll do that is on this production OU, where we have the Windows 10 device, we're going to create a GPO in this domain and link it here. And we'll just call this software. In the real world, you want to come up with something more descriptive, maybe the software that you're installing, something better than just software though. So once we've created that, we'll right click on it and go to edit. And that's going to expose all the different settings that we can use here. Now the one that we want, I believe is under preferences, Windows set, no. So confusing. There's so many options. There's literally like thousands of options in here that you can set. So policy, software settings, software installation. That's the one that we want. So we'll right click here and hit new. And I should also say, prior to this video, I did download a couple of MSI installs, one for 7-zip and one for VLC. And I've put them in the share that we created in the last video, I believe it was. We created the shares files, and it's under cdcloud.local or whatever domain that you had set up. I put those files there. Wherever you put these files, you want them to be on a network share. You don't want them just sitting on the C drive of the server or something like that. You're going to need to create a share. So if you haven't done that, you may want to go back to that previous video and see how you can set up the network share, and then you can follow along from that point. So we have a couple of MSIs here that we're going to install using this group policy. To do that, over here in the blank area, we're going to click on New, or right click and then New and then Package. And then here we'll want to navigate to wherever that share is that you created, where you can see the MSI files here. And we're going to go ahead and, I'm not sure if it'll select both of them. It will. So we're going to select both of these MSIs. And it's important that you use MSIs. There are ways to use executables or other types of installers, but you're probably going to want to use either a wrapper to make that into an MSI, which you can research that online. I'm not going to go into that in this video. Or you could use a PowerShell script that's actually just going to call this MSI file for you. Now, if you're using the PowerShell script method, you won't do it in this same software installation area. I'll show you that here in a little bit when we get to startup scripts. I'll show you where you could put that at. So we're going to go ahead and select these two, and we're going to click on Open, and we're going to leave this as assigned, and assigned again for the second one. And now you can see that they're both here. So now we can go ahead and close out of this, and we can see we have this linked here, and let me make this a little bit bigger so we can see the details of what's going on in here. If we go to settings, now we can see that we have software settings and assigned applications, and we can see both 7-zip and VLC, and you can keep expanding this out. We can just click show all here to make it a little easier. We can see where it's coming from, and you can see some of the other settings that it automatically does, and you can see it knows what the software is. That's just what it pulls out of the actual MSI installer, and you can see it's got a little support URL here, and the same thing would be true for the VLC one. None of that stuff really is too important. The important thing is we have these two pieces of software here, and we're going to publish those to that machine, and we did that by linking that to this OU where that machine is. That machine lives in this production OU, and because this policy that we just created is linked to this OU, that means that machine will get those pieces of software. Now, sometimes delivering software through GPO is not the fastest thing in the world. Typically, we can speed it up. We hop back over here to the Windows 10 machine, and we go to Run, and we pull up a command prompt, and we type in GP update /force, and we'll run that. Now, software is not going to install like right now. The software installs after the machine starts up, so we'll need to reboot the machine in order for it to get the installs, and it may or may not do it on the first reboot. So we're going to go ahead and restart it and see if it'll get it. So we'll say yes to restart. All right, the machine's coming back up now. It's sit on the please wait screen for a moment, so we may have gotten them, and it looks like we did. There's VLC. Let's pull up the control panel and take a look to make sure both of them installed. And we can see 7-zip installed, and we can see VLC player installed. So you've now successfully installed software via group policy. This can be really handy. You need to roll out a piece of software to like hundreds, thousands of computers. Group policy can do it. There are better ways to do it in later videos when we get into Config Manager or SCCM. SCCM is kind of built for doing that kind of stuff, these wide deployments of software settings and configurations. It's really made to do that. And group policy tends to be better for the policy side of things, like configuring very specific settings in Windows to lock things down, keep users out of certain things, or just customize the way that the desktop looks and how it performs for the users. So that's what we're going to take a look at now, a couple of sample settings that you can use for that. And then we'll go back over here to the domain controller, and we will go instead down to the user, and we need to look to see what OU our user is in. I think they're in the admin. Yeah, so this user, we're going to be targeting this particular user with these next few settings. And this is going to lock them out of like the control panel, or we can hide individual items. We can prevent them from accessing the command prompt. You can prevent them from using removable storage like a flash drive or a thumb drive. All these things are pretty common in a corporate environment where you don't want your users going in there and messing with settings, or you don't want them exfiltrating data by putting it on a flash drive, stuff like that. So that's what you'll see commonly in your corporate environments. And we'll go ahead and create one of those now. So we'll expand this admin one and click on it. We'll create a GPO in this domain and link it here just like we did before. And this we're going to call hide CP items. And we'll decide which ones we're going to hide here in a moment. So go ahead and create that. And we'll right click on it and click edit. And this time, since we're dealing with a user and not necessarily the computer, we want this policy to apply to the user. That's going to mean whatever computer they log into within this domain, they're going to get these settings that we're about to apply. So we're going to go to user configuration, and we're going to go to policies, and we're going to go to administrative templates. And from here, we're going to go to control panel, and we're going to hide specific control panel items. We're going to enable this, and then we're going to click on show right here. And here we'll need to put in some details of what exactly we want to prohibit them from doing. So in order to get a sample, we're going to go back to this machine here, and we're going to go to control panel here, and we're going to change this to small icons. Now the names that we type into this policy are going to be what they appear as here. So maybe we do phone and modem and power options. We want to keep them from getting into those. So over here we'll put phone and modem, and we'll put power options. I think that's how it looks in there. Let me just double check. Power options, phone and modem. Yep. So we'll go ahead and click OK on that. We have it enabled. We'll click apply. And we can go ahead and close out of this. If we click on this policy and we expand this out, we'll see where the list of disallowed control panel items are the two that we typed in. So now if we go back to the machine and we pull up a command prompt again, and we'll do a GP update force, and if we're lucky, we'll get those on the first try. Like I said, not everything processes immediately with group policy. Sometimes you have to restart. Generally with the user side of things, you don't need a restart. You can either wait until group policy updates, which I think is maybe every 90 minutes or so. You can change it, so it may not be the same for everybody, but I think by default it's like 90 minutes. I could be wrong about that. So let's go ahead and refresh this, and let's see if it took effect. Not yet. So let's give it another minute, and we'll try it again. All right, so just another minute or so, and I did it again, and now you can see that we no longer see the phone or the power settings. Those are gone now. So that policy worked as expected, and that's just one way that you could prevent them from getting to that. You can also prevent them from getting to the control panel at all, and how we do that is we'll go back and edit this. And we will go to policies, administrative templates, control panel, click on it, and prohibit access to control panel and PC settings. Click on that one and we'll hit enabled. And we'll apply that one, and then we'll give it a little bit, and I'll run this GP update again and then see if we lose our access to the control panel altogether. All right, so that's updated, and now like on Windows 10, if I right click and go to settings, which is like the newer version of control panel, You can see that it doesn't load. And then if I try to run, get back to this, I can't get to that either. So those restrictions are now in place and keeps me from getting into all those things that maybe you don't want me into. Another thing we can do is prevent the command prompt. And this one will be a little trickier, I guess. Let's see. We'll go to, it's not under control panel. I think it's under system. Prevent access to command prompt. You can see prevent access to registry editing tools like regedit. There's lots of stuff in here, so you really need to explore in here. And then this would disable scripts that would need to use the command prompt as well. So you may or may not want to do that because you might have some scripts that you're trying to run on machines that would need this. So you don't want to break anything for yourself. You just want to keep the user from running the command prompt on their own. So we'll go ahead and keep that as no, and we'll hit apply. And then we'll give it a minute, and then I'll run the GPU update force again, and then I'll try to open a new command prompt window and see if it'll allow me to do it. All right, so that's updated now. So now if I try to launch a new command prompt window, I get this, that it's been disabled by the administrator, so I can no longer get to it. It doesn't break this one from running, so I can still run commands in here, but once I close this, I won't be able to open another one. So now we'll go ahead and move on to some other stuff as far as like scripts. If you need to run a startup script, so before the user logs in, but the machine has powered on and it's at the login screen. If you're wanting some type of script, either a batch file, PowerShell script, something like that, to run at that time, you can do that through the computer configuration. And I believe it's under Windows settings. And then scripts. Right here you have, drag this over so you can see startup and shut down. So you could go in here and you can add your scripts in here. And if you have parameters for your scripts, you can do that as well. This works with batch files and PowerShell scripts. So that's pretty easy to use. I'm not going to demo that here. It's pretty self-explanatory. Same thing with the shutdown. If a shutdown gets triggered on the device and you want to run a script before that happens, whenever a shutdown is initiated, you can do that here. Likewise, you can do the same thing with the log on and log off scripts. Under Windows settings, again, here you'll have scripts, log on and log off. This could be useful if you want to launch an application when the user logs in, or if you need to do something to clean up whenever a user logs off. Again, there's tons of things that you can do in here. It's a very powerful, very valuable tool to IT and to organizations to be able to control the experience that their end users have on the machine, and also to put in place lockdowns or different type of mechanisms to protect their devices, protect the users, and protect their environment from things they don't want or need their users to do. And a lot of times, if you've ever had a grandparent who got a computer and they get in there and they just mess up a bunch of stuff and they're always calling you to come over to fix it, there's certain things you could do in group policy that would prevent those kind of things from happening by blocking them out from places where they could screw something up at. So that's all I got for you today. Again, in the future, we'll be going into Intune, which Intune does a lot of these things that group policy does, but not all of them. There are some differences there. And we'll also get into onboarding our device that we have, our Windows 10 device, into Entra and get it into Intune that way, show you how all that works. Got a lot planned for the future. I'm excited about it. If you want to see more of these videos, please, like I said, leave a comment down below, hit the like button, and subscribe to my channel. That's all I got for you today. Have a great weekend.